Welcome back, friends. Part 2 on my Declaratio of the Sovereign Pontiff, being Benedict the 16th. After the election, and I have that in scare quotes, of Bergoglio, the theological and pastorally erroneous statements he made became quite common. At first, now here's my journey part. At first, I tried to find suitable excuses for these statements. After the wretched statements became too numerous by him, and it's very, very easy to find various sites who catalog them, I ignored them. In fact, I ignored what he said pretty well for many years. And it's incredibly easy to do, especially if you have other pressing needs, which I did at that time. However, I transitioned from just plain ignoring after there was so much evidence to deciding that it was my cross at this time of the church's life to live under a bad pope. To carry the cross. Jesus never made any bones about it that we were to pick up our cross and follow him. And so it was my task from Christ to live under the title of a bad pope. Other Catholics have had to do that through the ages, and it was, tasked to me to do that as well. And so that I did. I did that for quite some time. That badness is not what caused me to reject the claim that Bergoglio was pope. Rather, it was Vigano's first testimony, published on August the 22nd of 2018, the Queenship of Our Lady, that really ripped the blindfold off of my eyes, where I revisited the errors that had been inserted by him into the regular teaching of the magisterium. All right, what were some of those errors, Karen, that got you so very concerned? And it's not that Vigano's testimony deals at that first testimony deals with these particular errors. Vigano will actually go on to talk about some of these later on in the ensuing 2+ years. But rather, it was me coming to terms with the tremendous scandal and crisis within the church, including teaching doctrinal error. So here would be my first example. The death penalty in the 3rd edition of the Catechism is one glaring example of error that has been taught and is currently being taught by the magisterium. The death penalty has not merely been tolerated through the ages. It has been at times vigorously purported as a means of salvation for those souls in grave error and grave sin. That it is now inserted into the 3rd Catechism as grave error. The second one is Amoris Laetitia. It isn't just one footnote that has error. There are several places within that document. The concerning part is the way it was that those errors were inserted like little bombs. I've seen some scholars say that is probably the longest document that the church has put out. I can't certainly make that kind of statement personally. It is a lengthy one. And the fact that those little bombs are placed in some sort of hidden and strategic way is very much a common legal technique to insert ways of getting out of a contract unbeknownst to the other party. The fact that, this is where discernment of truth comes, the fact that Amoris Laetitia has some good points does not negate the distributed errors. The 3rd error was the blasphemous erection of Moloch on sacred grounds. And again, I have a link to on my website talking about that event. And, which is one thing, in that Moloch erection by the Vatican was highlighted to me from the Israeli Times, as well as I believe the Christian Post. So both the Protestant and our Jewish, followers of Abraham saw the tremendous problem well before and publicized it much more. Well, not just much more. They publicized it, whereas the mainstream Catholic media did not. And it is a concern. Thomas Aquinas' Opus Magnus, Theologica Summum, is divided into three large parts: God, creation, and Christ. Creation, being such a large part, is thus subdivided into two parts. Eco-sins and pagan worship is well covered and developed in Catholic thought. Nature is an inanimate creature and cannot ask for pardon. A third big error for me from the teaching office of the Magisterium was Laudato Si. Vatican I Council taught that the Pope cannot err in faith and morals. Bergoglio had erred in faith and morals. So either the Council taught error, or Bergoglio is not the Pope. If this Council taught an error, how do I know other past councils had not taught an error? If the people of God cannot know which pronouncements are fully in accord with God's truth, how can one know past pronouncements by other pontiffs were truth? So that line of thinking led to me to consider that Bergoglio is not the Pope. So then my second question following that was, when did his anti-papacy occur? Was he validly elected Pope and had excommunicated himself with heresy? Or was he ever validly elected Pope? All right, my friends, we will stop here and we will pick up whether, in my mind, Bergoglio was ever validly elected Pope. To the next time, Fides et Ratio.